Armstead, Public Information Officer with the Oakland Police Department. Today, Oakland Police Chief LeRonne Armstrong will be providing an update concerning the fatal vehicle collision that occurred early Sunday morning at 5400 block of International Boulevard. Questions will be taken following the Chief's statement. Without further delay, I'll turn it over to Chief Armstrong.
Good evening, and I called this press conference today because from day one I told the community that I would be transparent about the actions of Oakland police officers. And today I have an update to the investigation that we spoke about on Monday. Since our news conference on Monday, I've received new information which comes to light that I want to share with the public. The additional information shows some irregularities and discrepancies involving two Oakland police officers. In accordance with California state law and the OPD policy, it prohibits anyone within this Oakland Police Department to actually discuss an open internal investigation. But today I'll give you some of the reasons that have led us to bring you an update. It's important to note that this is a criminal investigation. Unfortunately, some of the information regarding the investigation is leaked out to the public, and I want to address some of the things that have come out. Any detailed information that is released could compromise this very important investigation. When someone's life is lost, when officers have been engaged in incidents that we are looking deeply into, it's important that we do investigations that are thorough, comprehensive, and complete. Upon this incident happening, I immediately opened an internal investigation into the actions of our officers. This was a tragic incident, and I proactively placed two officers on administrative leave. In the process, I relieved those officers of their police powers, as these allegations that we're investigating are very serious. It's important to remember that the incident occurred after an egregious action of Arnold Lenaldi and his blatant disregard for public safety. Prior to the fatal collision, Mr. Lenaldi was involved in an illegal sideshow activity and was driving at nearly 100 miles an hour while operating within a designated bus lane. Based on the information derived from this investigation, it appears that two Oakland police officers in a marked Oakland police vehicle attempted to engage Mr. Lenaldi's vehicle. Lenaldi's vehicle fled from the officers at a high rate of speed. The officers could not keep up with the vehicle and eventually disengaged with the vehicle as Mr. Lenaldi continued down International Boulevard. Lenaldi later lost control of his vehicle, causing a collision which led to the unfortunate death of Mr. Lolo Manaye. 3 other individuals were also injured as a result of this accident. So far, the department has identified several areas in this investigation that are seriously concerning, which I decided to place officers on administrative leave beyond the normal 72-hour administrative leave, full administrative leave, and suspended all police powers. This case is now being investigated by the Oakland Homicide Division, the Internal Affairs Division, the Oakland Community Police Review Agency, and the department is in consultation with the Alameda County District Attorney's Office regarding any potential culpability the officers may have. This is standard protocol when we have any incident where someone has lost their life. Traffic safety is a major concern for me and the city of Oakland. This incident occurred a little more than a week after the unfortunate death of Mr. Villalobos, finally, who was struck while he was riding his bicycle with his family alongside his 2 children. His death was also a result of a speeding motorist. Again, I want to make sure that the public knows that this department is being transparent, that we took action immediately on Monday when we brought forth this investigation to the public regarding this fatal collision. But we also brought to the public that we had 2 officers that were under investigation, that I opened up an investigation that would lead to administrative leave for those 2 officers. Since Monday, we've reviewed a lot of additional evidence, additional video evidence, and taken statements from a lot of individuals that either witnessed this event or had information related to this event. The Oakland Police Department takes all misconduct and violations of department policy very serious, and will ensure that this investigation is thorough, complete, and if misconduct happened on behalf of any of our Oakland police officers, we will hold them accountable. I think it's been clear since I've been chief of police that I have no problem holding people accountable when they go outside the department's values or the department's policy. And in this case, our investigation will be thorough and comprehensive, and if it's appropriate, we will make a decision regarding what is the next step in the process. With that, I'll take any questions.
Chief, just want to clarify, is relieving officers of police powers beyond the norm of relieve? Meaning, I haven't heard this term here before, but I just want to clarify, is that a step beyond, more serious than just paid leave? Meaning, confirm when you relieve,
I'm gonna try to
get it,
fix that
turn
up.
it in your badge and your gun, or is that what happens every time you're on leave?
No, the typical administrative leave process is a initial 72-hour process where you're placed on administrative leave, required to go see a psychologist and be cleared by the psychologist. You are not relieved of your police powers. Your badge and gun remains with you. This administrative leave that was administered was suspension of police power, the removal of the badge and gun while the investigation continues. So this is a much more extensive leave.
Can you confirm both officers in question are rookies, and that the central question is they may not have gotten permission to go after or chase or to engage, or number two, that they may have left the scene is an accusation. They left the scene and then came back as if they had come across it. But then the devil's advocate is, knowing how busy Oakland is, do you require all officers to get on the air every time they speed up to try to go after a car? Otherwise, the radio will be full of it. Or what can we say about all that?
I'll first say that specifics about this investigation I can't speak to because it's open. I think one thing that's critically important is when we have investigations serious in nature like this, it's important that I make sure I protect the integrity of the investigation so that when it's over, if there are significant findings that could potentially lead to one's termination, that those cases are upheld. And so I'll say from a general perspective, anytime this department pursues a car, our policies are very clear. About the way in which an officer should conduct him or herself, the permissions that they need in order to pursue a vehicle. Our policies are online. You can look at our J4 pursuit policy, and it's clear about what's required of officers when they're engaged in a pursuit. For this investigation, we'll examine all the officers' actions to make sure that they were within that policy.
I'm sorry, I didn't know, Henry, how long the officers have been on the force or have been in public safety? And then also, can you characterize how many witnesses, and was anyone arrested after this sideshow, other than the suspect?
First, I'll say that the officers have been here over a year and a half, so they're a little bit beyond rookies. These officers have obviously been working on the department for a decent amount of time. I'll also say to your second question, I don't have right now with me if we took what enforcement action we took on other people involved in Sideshow today. But typically we do make stops, we do tow vehicles during Sideshow. I think we report out pretty often to the public that we do see tow cars and take enforcement action. I think in this particular evening, I don't have that information, but I know that activity was occurring in the 4500 block of International. We know that there was Sideshow activity there and present in that area.
Were there other officers present at the same time? Other patrol cars, whatnot?
Yeah, there were vehicles in the area around the Sideshow activity. We know that as well. We also, like we do in any serious investigation, we interview all of our officers that could have even remotely known or seen anything. I think it's important that we reach out to officers, because sometimes things happen and you don't see it or you don't realize that something else may have occurred later on or things like that. So we do speak to all our officers that were out there to ensure that they provide any information that they might have regarding what they may have or may not have seen.
Were you able to interview any other witnesses other than public safety professionals?
Yes, yes we have.
And Chief, can you say how much time elapsed between the moment these officers engaged the Nissan until the actual crash? And can you talk about code 3 lights and siren status, whether they were on, off, mixture, and then when they have to notify dispatch? Because again, as I said, if you accelerate, there's a big difference. Let's say the crash happened 10 seconds later versus 2 minutes. Can you talk about timing and code 3 status?
Yeah, those are some of the things, Henry, we're looking into specifically. It requires us to break down video that we've recovered since Monday. We have several pieces of video evidence that we're looking into to look at the time that lapsed between where we see contact and then where we see the culmination of the collision. We do know that the lights and sirens were on, but we also do know at some point the lights and sirens were off. And so I think those are all of the things that we'll be looking into in this investigation to determine specifically when those things happen. I think those are very key parts of the investigation that we're still working through.
Chief, with what you've seen so far, and obviously you've taken action, which is more than you'd usually take, are you upset by what you've seen and the information you've come across at this point?
Well, I think it's first of all, it's always saddening when you see someone lose their life. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that you want to make sure that your officers were doing what they are supposed to do, that they're following policy and following the law. And if we were involved in any way with this incident, we want to make sure that officers are held accountable if they did not follow policy. And so, I recognize that, we want the public to trust us, and we want the public to know that if our officers step out of bounds and don't follow policy, that we're going to take swift and quick action. And that's what we did in this case. We immediately began to investigate this case when we've seen some irregularities. But then we further went and did additional follow-up. We've been out into the community. We've been canvassing in the community to recover video evidence. We've been seeking out witnesses to this. We've been surfing social media to see if there's any videos. So we've been exhausting every option available in order for us to get every piece of information we can, because this needs to be a thorough investigation. And that's what we're doing now. And I believe that at some point we'll bring forth the news of what the outcome of that investigation would be.
You said that the officers were relieved of their police powers, which is more than what would typically happen. When exactly were they relieved of their powers?
They were relieved of their powers Monday.
Was that before or after the press conference?
That was right before the press conference. Right before the press conference, they were put on the normal administrative leave. The second step was put into place later on Monday afternoon when we identified some glaring issues that we wanted to look into further.
So is it a coincidence that KTVU posted their story about this and then 15 minutes later this press conference was called?
No,
for
I
more
think
transparency? Because if the officers were relieved of their police powers based on what you learned, which could be this egregious action, here we are Wednesday afternoon, 2 days later. That doesn't scream of transparency.
Well, what I say is that everything that was written in that article wasn't accurate. And so I think we know what this investigation has provided to us. I think it's important that we don't move at the time when someone reports out something or an anonymous source. I think it's important that we make sure that we have all the information we need to share with the public. I also think that there's an investigation going on where we're taking statements from our staff that has taken us a couple days to do so. This incident happened early Monday morning, and we had several initial statements from nearly 20 officers that we needed to speak to Monday morning. That took us into late into the afternoon into Monday. We also still had time to interview the officers involved in this incident as well. So I think there was a culmination of all of that was needed. And then I was briefed again and showed some additional information on Tuesday afternoon, late Tuesday afternoon, that gave me an update on the investigation. So I think from our standpoint, Wednesday is a sufficient time for us to be able to put all that information together and share that information with the public. But I do think that by information being leaked to the public that had inaccuracies in it, did obviously make me feel like it was important that I came and actually cleared that up. So that's I will say that was important, because I don't want the public to believe that we have not been working around the clock on this investigation. This has been our priority since this happened on Monday morning.
Is there
At
any
this time,
audio?
we'll
Is
have
there-
time for two more questions.
Is there a belief that those officers left the scene of the accident and then came back?
We're exploring all of those officers' actions, from the minute they made contact with the vehicle, to the accident, to after the accident, to how the investigation was handled. Every bit of it is being looked into within our internal investigation.
So to be specific, what exactly did they get put on extended administrative leave and loss of powers for? Can you be specific with this?
We identified potential misconduct, very serious potential misconduct within our investigation, and that's led to the additional administrative leave. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.